Last year, and Emma Lombardi, Helen, fourth on debut in Yokohama and brilliant 2 weeks ago in the relay in Montreal.
She's such a young athlete, and she just come out this season and had two incredible races so far. I'm really excited.
A little bit slow, some of them away there. We'll just have to double check if there was.
I'm not sure if that was a false start. Some people were quite far behind.
Yeah, well, we'll have to wait and see. It will be a 10-second time penalty if they did go early. But one of the iconic triathlon events of the year is underway. 750 metres it is in the swim. And remember, they're going to go through that tunnel as part of it as well.
Yeah, really essential for a fast start in this race.
Well, I'll tell you what, Annabelle Knoll was about 2 seconds behind the rest of them.
She was really far behind. I did see her dive in, then she swam straight over onto the right, which you're not allowed to do. You're not allowed to purposely wait and then dive over to a different side. But I don't think that was on purpose. It looked like she just missed the start.
Wasn't ready, wasn't concentrating maybe. Well, we'll find out if there were any irregularities. It may just have been that several of them were a bit slow.
Yeah, there's a few athletes who've gone out really fast. You can see them just pulling away, and then behind that you see those arrowheads forming where the athletes are just going to be looking up and sighting and heading onto the feet.
Just have a look at this again. Just watch Knoll. And also, I think Vancouver was even behind Knoll.
Vancouver looked over at Knoll because she saw Knoll not moving. Sometimes when you're on the pontoon, you don't, just the way it is, some areas just you don't hear the horn as easily. So maybe something like that happened. There was a noise behind, so something went slightly wrong there. It's the worst time, isn't it? You really want to be obviously in the same line as everyone else. You really don't want to give up 2 seconds on the swim. You're just giving yourself such a hard place to go from.
Yeah, and obviously more important in a sprint race because you've got far less time to make up any deficit that you might lose at the start.
Yeah, we've got Sian Rainsley there is the closest to us in front. I think that's Summer Rappaport on her feet. So Sian's a fantastic swimmer, swam as a youngster until she went fully into triathlon at about 18, 19. And in the middle, it could be Lopez from Brazil. She's one of the athletes who's a bit lower ranked, so she would have ended up in the middle.
It wouldn't be the first time that we've seen her forging ahead in the water either, if it is Lopez.
Looking for athletes like Bragmeier as well, who's an excellent swimmer. And Flora Duffy, I mean, she's always one of the athletes who we might not see her leading, but she's always tends to be in that top 5 out the water. Just that consistency, that race experience that allows her to get into those good positions.
On the premises, I think, with Flora generally. Bragmeier is fairly prominent as well, the Hungarian.
See Summer Rapport's now just moving up as well. We do see that with her. She just seems to get stronger as the race goes on. It happens in the run as well. She almost comes from nowhere sometimes and really pushes through. Just such a strong athlete.
And that previous shot we showed you gave a great idea of how they start to kind of gradually come together. And here's the first buoy. It's not long till you get it. Barely 3 minutes till this first buoy. And those on the right-hand side of your shot obviously are swimming further at the moment. They've got to get across.
Yeah, they've got to get across, and that's when we just get that bottleneck that really slows those athletes further back down. I think that's Lopez in front, number 39. So I saw the yellow from her, Brazil. And then number 4, Rappaport, just onto her feet.
And what we're going to look for, and it obviously won't happen quite yet, we've only been swimming for 3.5 minutes as we look at Lopez's profile there, is what kind of separation there is and how many might be able to get away and form a little break around the bike. Stephanie Rappaport, isn't it, swimming in second place?
Yeah, she's really strong this year in the swim. We haven't seen as many separations on the swim this year, and I don't know if that's because we're missing Jess Learmont, because she's the athlete that tends to lead out the swim and really string it out. But there seems to be breakaways even from that 1 or 2 second gap, so it's never it doesn't mean that everyone's going to stay together because there's no gaps, because if one poor transition or one good transition can put you up a few places and a breakaway forms.
I think the best swim we've seen of late was Vincent Luis's swim in the relay, wasn't it, a couple of weeks ago in Montreal. See who that is on the...
I think that's Bragmeier, so she's closest to us, and she's swum she's got a nice bit of clear water there, and you can see she's swimming well. She's quite easily closed down that distance to to Rappaport and Lopez and just coming up alongside them.
National champion for the umpteenth time.
I think it's 6 times.
Yeah.
It's incredible, isn't it? So yeah, it's quite wide, isn't it? Everyone's quite spread out. They're not in a pack. We've got almost 3 single lines of athletes. Some are really wide. Rappaport's moved to the front now. Bragmire's just tucking in.
And when they come to the tunnel, you'll see how significantly narrower it is. It won't be a problem for those on your screen, but for those in the main group in behind, there can be some issues. We've got a little bit of separation now, maybe the top, what would you say, 15?
Yeah, there's definitely a gap there.
Yeah.
I think the pace is on just by the fact that they're so spread out, this front group. Normally you would see them a lot tighter together like we see further down, but it's being this spread out is probably allowing them to swim a little bit individually, a little bit faster. Rappaport's really strict. She's got to the front now and she's got really high turnover and really pushing it on. But those athletes who are out there on their own, the best place for them to be now is to move in and try and get onto someone's feet, just so they're saving a little bit of energy. You're wasting a lot of energy if you're just swimming solo.
Looks like Summer just at the front there in the yellow cap.
Yeah, Lopez just nicely tucked onto her feet, so she's saving quite a bit of energy. Bragmire's moving in now. Those athletes far out wide probably want to move in before they get to the tunnel. And it goes quite dark in the tunnel, but it's easy to sight because obviously you can see the other side, but there is a kayak slightly in front of them they can follow too. So about 12 in that side on the right and about 5 or 6 on the left, so it's a relatively big group. But the groups, yeah, they are quite separate still.
And obviously when they come out of the water, we'll be able to give you the full list of who is in that group, because their little tags that they wear, their ankle bracelets, will register on our computer system. There's the tunnel, and they can only swim through that middle section that have the arrows there.
I mean, it's hard to tell if those athletes on the left are quite far enough over. I think they probably are.
Yeah, they've had to do a lot of steering, those athletes, round the buoy, and now as we approach the tunnel, and once they go through that tunnel, you can see there's not much swimming at all until they get out the water.
It's really close from that point, and that's when the crowds are right next to you, so you come through that, and even as an athlete in the water, you can actually hear the crowds and hear the noise because they're so close. So Brad might slip back a little bit now.
You see the crowds on the bridge there getting a absolutely perfect view.
Even when you're in the water, you can hear that noise. All the cowbells, that's awesome. Yeah, there's the separation, isn't there? There's a definite bit, there's somebody desperately on their own trying to make it over. And there's always opportunity because it's not too far for them to get over. There's about a couple of metre gap, so a really fast transition, and you can do it. But transition's a lot smoother today. There's no wetsuit to worry about, so one less headache for the athletes to have to think about.
Yeah, so we reckon it's a group of about 18, and then there's some open water.
Oh, it got really congested there in that group. You can see a few athletes almost stop.
That's the problem.
I think it's just the shock of going into the dark. I think it's because there's no reason for everything to slow down at that point. But yeah, it's just that change in the light.
So there are the spectators with their legs hanging down, that iconic picture. And they're about to exit the water after what will be just over 9 minutes of swimming. Getting huge enthusiastic support. Yeah,
really strong finish from Rappaport. She's really just keeping that arm turned over high, really pushing all the way to the finish. Yeah, definite split further back. Even after the first 3 are just slightly pulling away too. Summer Rappaport led out here last year. She just really enjoys this swim. Seems to really work for her.
Yeah, she had a poor race by her standards in Leeds, and then bounced back with a very decent 5th in Montreal. So Rappaport, Lopez and Rainsley. Taylor Spivey, good swim. Flora Duffy right there as we thought.
Yeah, from Mylon as well. A great swim from her. Nice swim from Vancouver then. Lisa Turch, that's unusual to see her so high up. She's definitely thought of as more of a bit of a runner, but Lindemann right there.
Good from Shane as well. Beth Potter, some quarter of a minute back.
There's the slight gap. There's a 3-second gap between 19 and 20, and sometimes that 3 seconds is enough.
So that technical official telling them 6 laps, 3.5 Ks each. Rachel Palmer rather further back than she would want to be.
See, there's the gap. That's the risk those athletes behind. They know they have to. There's always opportunity, but there's some really strong cyclists in the front.
So we've already got probably 12, 15. Now, are they able to exert and stay away? That's the big question. See like dribs and drabs of bikers coming round that corner.
It really depends who's in the group now and who's willing to work, who's willing to actually put out that amount of effort, because it's a risk, because you could put out all this effort and then you could just get caught by the other group. But this is the point where you don't want to worry about anything else. You just need to put your head down, ride as hard as you can for the first couple of laps and see where you are, see what's happening, see who's with you. I mean, Flora Duffy's in that group, so I imagine she's going to be one of the athletes that is really going to go to the front and take some big turns, but she's not going to be able to do it on her own. She's going to need help from those other athletes if they want to stay away from that chase group. But Rappaport and Lopez are at the front, and there's Flora Duffy just moving up so smoothly on the outside of them in a really low position. There you go, that's the difference.
She's off.
Yeah, but that's the difference, that absolute commitment out of transition. She's in a fantastic position, she's got her head down, she's not worrying about what's going on behind. But you don't see that from all of the athletes in that front group.
And we have seen in the past these little mini breaks from the Olympic champion can really spread eagle the field on the bike.
Yeah, it really can. And probably the thing going against Flora today, it's quite windy, so it does make it quite hard for her to do this solo today. But I mean, she's done it before, right? She's definitely got the potential.
She's done it before over 40 Ks, let alone 20.
Yeah, but there's some solid athletes in there. I mean, Annabelle Knoll's in there, and she's a strong rider. She's an athlete that's always willing to work hard and really try and get that group ahead. But at this point, I think no one's come through on Flora yet.
I reckon there's a dozen in that little group now, so they've already, that injection of speed from Duffy has meant 3 or 4 have been spat out the back, and she's not showing any sign of stopping.
No, that's a really.
Oh, we've got a woman down there on that just after the 180. Let's see who that was. There we go. That's Vancouver.
That's a shame. Oh, it's quite hard for the other athletes coming around now because they're having to slow more than they would have wanted, because that's quite a wide dead turn there. You do have the ability to take that turn with a bit of speed on, but yeah, she definitely lost quite a lot of time there.
Yeah, and just had some issues with the chain. It seemed like she'd done the hard work and gone round the 180. I'm not sure quite what happened there, because it didn't look like there was anyone near her.
Yeah, it looked like her wheels maybe just slipped out from under her. So you can see Flora back on front now. I think Lopez has just taken a turn and moved over for her. No, it doesn't show us what happened there. It looked like maybe her wheels just slipped out.
So the Bermudian still at the head of affairs. I wonder how long she's going to do this for, and I'm sure she'd appreciate a little bit of help from someone.
I think she'll need help at some point, but what she's done already is whistle that group down. I think there's only 8 of them now.
So 12 has become 8.
Yeah.
Cuban obviously was,
that wouldn't have helped some of the athletes who are at the back. It was really easy to say they should come through and take a turn, but they probably can't at this point. But if Flora does the initial work of establishing a gap, then once they get around a lap or 2, then she'll be able to ease back, and the other athletes may have recovered enough to help. But it is also a tough position to be in, where you've got probably the strongest female cyclist that we've seen in World Triathlon at the front, and you're trying to hang on for the grim death, really.
Yeah. I think it's Charlotte McShane who's bang in between the lead group and the chase group, which is not a good place to be.
No, that's not ideal. I don't think is Laura Lindemann in the front eight.
I don't think she is. I didn't see her name there. Well, we've got an issue with Lombardi. That was in transition, obviously. Not quite sure what happened, but the French woman was down.
That's a shame.
We always get drama of one kind or another in here. It doesn't matter if it's wet or dry.
Yeah, I know. There's always something going on, isn't there? And I think it's that pressure. Hamburg, you know, there's a lot of noise. It's really tight and fast. And you know, one small mistake, it just seems amplified.
So completion of first lap. Duffy, Spivey, Lopez, Meisner, Knoll, Rainsley, Bragmeyer, and they've got a 7-second lead on the chasers. McShane has now gone back into that chasing group. Lindemann is in the chase group, not in the lead group.
Yeah, and they've got 3 Germans in the chase group, haven't they? With Tersch, Knoll, and Meiner.
Well, to the naked eye. Yeah, to the naked eye, that looked not that much of a gap. It's Beth Potter at the front of that chase group as the Duffy group goes by.
Yeah, it's a big name that's missed out on that front group there.
Pedersen way back. Just saw Andrea Henson's name go through. She's in the field today, the 40-year-old.
We've still got Flora Duffy on the front, really stringing out the pack.
Well, we saw Emma Lombardi on the deck a few moments ago. That all the way down to stand number 1. There's Flora, got to get this perfect. King was away, and with a little bit of a gap too. That's a great transition for the Dutch woman.
Yeah, she came in with that slight gap, didn't she? She must have got, poor transition from Flora Duffy. She was a long way out then. Don't know what happened. She was 10 seconds down on Kingma coming out of transition. Not been her day for transitions.
So we've got Bragmeyer there, we've got Lindemann and Knoll running together with Myers. In fact, we've got 3 Germans, a triumvirate of Germans there. And Flora at the moment is right at the back of that group.
See Bragmeyer's quickly worked her way back to Maya Kingma. Laura Lindemann tucked in there, and I watched last year's race and she really did stay tucked in a lot. She didn't really take it. She had an amazing finish, but she didn't really show her cards too early. She really just responded to everyone else. I wonder if that's going to be her game plan again.
Well, we'll see, because we're only talking about probably 16 minutes or so of running. Look at Bragmeyer's transition. Wow! 20 seconds, up 10 places, and Duffy lost 8 spots. That's so unlike her.
Yeah, it really is. And I think it's Bragmeyer's gone to the front now, really pushing on. And she did the arena games in Singapore, like at the start of the season, did really well, won out of nowhere, beat Beth Potter, and no one was really expecting it. But then really suffered a bit, got sick after it, and didn't do well in Yokohama or anything. So maybe just had really coming back into form at this part of the season.
Well, she's one of the more experienced in the field. 121st race for her today, although it's only the 15th World Championship event of her career. No podiums yet. She will not have a better chance, you wouldn't think.
That's the chase group there, isn't it? Or is that no, that's the leaders. Yeah, just heading out towards that first turn up there. So they've spread out quite quickly. I think that's Simone Ackerman there, who's just lost contact with the group.
Yeah, the South African really starting to struggle. But Bragmeyer is looking very impressive. It's still the first lap, remember. They do 2 circuits of 2.5 kilometres each, and look at Flora.
I know, that's amazing.
From right at the back to right near the front in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, she gave herself a lot of work to do there, didn't she? The Ackland's just come off the back slightly. As is Lopez. That's Flora definitely now just trying to move up to Bragmeyer, isn't it? Lindemann still just there.
And Beth Potter right on the shoulder, right on the shoulder of Duffy. So we got 3 big names ganging up now on the Hungarian at the front. Although one of them has a 10-second penalty to take at some point, and that is going to be a real sickener for Flora if it costs her, which it surely will do. You would think at least 1 or 2 spots on the podium potentially.
Yeah, well I hope someone's told her as well, because it's obviously coming from a small country, she doesn't have a huge coaching team there. So when there's, the Germans are a really, really big team, with multiple coaches out on the course. So hopefully someone has got the message to her that, or she'll see on the board as well. But hopefully she remembers to check and make sure. I think she might know the speed she's heading out here.
Yeah. Well, the only thing I'd say is, do you remember that race I was talking about earlier, when Murray and Mona were racing together? And Murray had a penalty and didn't see it, and Mona basically was the one who told him.
Yeah.
Otherwise he wouldn't have seen it. And of course, if you get a penalty and you don't go to the box, you're disqualified. No issues with it.
Yeah.
Well, we saw with Georgia Taylor-Brown in the relay last weekend, where she took a penalty and still maintained her place and came second, and of course we saw it with Cassandra Boger on the individual race as well.
There's definitely, and I presume Flora watched the races, so she knows it can be done, but she's really striding out here, really trying to put a gap between her and Beth Potter early on, and I presume that is why she knows she's going to need a bit of time. But Potter will know as well. I'm sure the British coaches have let Potter know, so although she can see Flora definitely moving away from her slightly here, she knows she's probably got that 10 seconds there.
Well, this could be absolutely fascinating. If Flora can get herself a bit of a gap, can she overcome a 10-second time penalty? Potter's off in pursuit, then there's a gap back, and even at this stage, with the stellar running of these two, you'd say they've probably got it between them, but we're going to have a massive story either way potentially. You wouldn't rule Lindemann out. She's running in 3rd place currently, or 4th in fact. So we're either going to have Beth Potter's first ever gold in a World Championship race, or we're going to have Flora Duffy doing something so Duffy-esque, if you like, in having won a race with a time penalty. But a sprint race to do that, it is so tough.
It's really tough, and I think Flora's actually putting time into Potter, but I think what goes in Beth's advantage is that she comes from that track running background where she's definitely going to have a kick. She's going to have that strength over the second half of the run as well. So it's going to be fascinating, but I do think this bike will have definitely taken something out of Beth's legs.
So if you're Flora, do you take the penalty now, or do you wait for the second lap?
I think she might be doing it now. Maybe that's why she's got such a big gap.
Well, the upside of that, I guess, is that if you take it now, or shortly, end of the first lap, when you come out, you know what you have to do. Whereas if you don't, it could be a horrible feeling standing there watching Potter race past, and you can't do anything about it because you're actually on the line.
Yeah, hard to know. I suppose personal choice for the athlete. Maybe that 10-second rest now might be quite nice.
Yeah.
Sort of short reset.
Maybe, but it's sometimes hard to get the momentum back.
Yeah. I just thought maybe bring the heart rate down a few beats, just to allow for that second lap with someone to catch. Maybe it's easier having someone to catch than be that person out in front. Yeah, hard to know. But she's running incredible. She's really opened up a gap over Potter.
Well, this is just classic Flora Duffy, isn't it? She was still suffering the repercussions of COVID in Leeds. She got dropped on the bike, ended up off the podium, and then she had the bike issues where she couldn't race a couple of weeks ago. But now, looking back to her absolute best here, albeit with a time penalty to serve at some point. almost as if these recent time penalties happen to medal for the German Lisa Tersch. And what a performance that is for the 23-year-old, and that's why the fist's in the air. You always get drama in Hamburg, and we've had it yet again.
And Taylor Spivey finished up with another really strong fourth. Lindemann in fifth, maybe going to be a little bit disappointed for her. Another strong result, Sian Rainsley there, coming in eighth. You can just see what it's taken out of Beth Potter. I think she can stand yet. Bragmeyer, with that really strong start, she just hung in there for 11th. So pretty much all of that day breakaway up there. Julie Deron, she was probably the strongest, I think, of the chase pack. So a really strong run from her. I think she only ran probably 10 seconds slower than what the fastest runners did there. A big improvement for Klarmer, getting into the top 15 there. Sophie Lynn, Australia, just breaking into that top 20. Coming through really fast now. All of this chase group really, really close together. Not the best result for Rappaport after such a strong swim. Just really suffered on that early stage of the bike and couldn't quite recover from it. Amazing result from Flora.